There are 15 old rings that are secretly worth a fortune in 2026, and you might own one of them without knowing it. Not the big showy ring the family already fights over. I mean the ordinary rings, the worn gold band from your grandmother, the dark red stone in the drawer, the dated engagement ring nobody wears, the odd one in the bottom of the jewelry box that never matched a thing. Rings exactly like these have sold for hundreds, for thousands, for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I have arranged tonight in order of value, so the prices climb with every single item, and I have saved the most valuable for last. And the ring at number 1, the one I am saving for the end, is the plainest, most ordinary old engagement ring imaginable, and one that was bought at a car boot sale for $10 turned out to be worth close to $850,000. By the end of this video, you will take every ring in that box, turn it over, and read it like a banker reads a check. Let me be honest with you before we open the jewelry box, because false hope is the enemy of good judgment. Most old rings are worth their gold weight and no more. The thin 9-carat bands, the tiny chipped diamonds, the costume rings by the tray, they are pretty and cheap, and I will not pretend otherwise. A worn-out dress ring is a worn-out dress ring. But here is what 40 years in the trade taught me. Rings are the category where collectors do not pay for sparkle at all. They pay for one small detail that most people never check: a natural untreated stone, a hand cut, a maker's mark, the back of a setting. In almost every jewelry box I ever valued, there was one ring worth more than everything else in the box put together, and the family had priced the whole lot by the gram. Now, before we carry on, let me say one thing. The support my channel has had lately has been overwhelming, and I mean that. So here's what I've decided. I'm not putting ads on these videos. You've given me your time, and I won't have it interrupted. If you'd like to support my channel, there's one way. You can scan the code on screen now with your phone's camera to get my book. I've put everything I know into one book, the Household and Collectibles Price Guide, 2027 edition. Every common item you might own, how to value it, and what it actually sells for. It even tells you where and how to sell it, who buys it, what they'll pay, and which route to take for which object. To get it, and everything I know, it's over at my website, malcolmashby.com. That's MALCOLMASHBY.com. Right, let's carry on. Opal rings. We start at the bottom of the money and the top of the odds, because a soft milky stone in a plain band sits in almost every old jewelry box. Most people brush past opals, having heard they are cheap or even unlucky, so the ring is never looked at again. But not all opals are equal, not even close. A common opal is a modest $20 to $50, while a fine natural opal, especially a dark black opal with strong color that seems to move and swim inside the stone, sells for many hundreds and into the thousands. Your test tonight: tilt the ring slowly under a lamp, and if deep flashes of red, blue and green shift and dance inside the stone, set it aside, because that living fire is the whole of the value. Never store an old opal bone dry for years, and never let anyone polish it before it is properly identified. Number 14, the vintage cluster rings. The ring with a bunch of small stones grouped together to look like one big flower, or a single large gem, sparkly but a little old-fashioned. Most people assume the little stones are tiny and cheap, so they price the whole thing as a trinket, and there is the loss, because a cluster can hide a surprising total of diamond weight. A weak cluster is worth a little, but one packed with real old cut diamonds set in platinum reaches well into the thousands. Your test tonight: look at the little stones under a lamp, and if they have a soft, warm old sparkle rather than a hard modern glitter, and the band carries a platinum or high-carat gold mark, do not trade it for scrap, because somebody needs to count what is actually in there before it goes anywhere. Number 13, the old turquoise rings, a warm blue-green stone in an older setting, maybe a little cloudy, maybe with fine dark veins running through it. Most people see the color and assume it is a cheap tourist stone, so the ring gets ignored, and that instinct can cost you. The whole question is whether the turquoise is natural and untreated rather than dyed or plastic filled, because most turquoise on the market today is treated. Treated turquoise is worth little, but a natural, untreated stone with fine, even color, especially old Persian material in an old silver or gold setting, reaches several hundred to a few $1,000s. Your test tonight: look hard at the color and the veining, then have a jeweler test whether it is natural or treated, because that single answer decides everything. And never soak or scrub turquoise, because it is soft and easily ruined. Number 12, the old signet rings. A chunky band with a flat face on top, maybe a worn crest, some initials, or a design softened by decades of wear. Most people think it is just an old man's ring, heavy and dated, something to melt for the gold, and that is a costly mistake. Look closely at that flat face, because a family crest, a coat of arms, or a monogram carved down into the metal rather than stamped on top is the tell that someone spent hours cutting it by hand. A plain gold signet sells close to its metal weight, but a hand-engraved example with a real crest, a clear hallmark, and traceable history has sold for several $1,000s. Your test tonight: run your finger over the top to feel whether it is carved in or merely pressed on, then flip it and hunt inside the band for hallmarks, because those two clues together can turn scrap gold into a small treasure. Number 11, the Victorian garnet rings. Picture a ring full of deep red stones, a whole cluster of little rose-cut gems packed close together in warm old gold. Most people see red, think cheap garnet, and toss it in the costume pile, and that is a real mistake, because it is not about the garnets at all, it is about the age and the making. A modern garnet ring is worth little, but a genuine antique Victorian garnet cluster, often bohemian, built by hand with dozens of tiny rose-cut stones, brings several hundred to a couple of $1,000s. And watch for a rare green garnet called demantoid, which flashes green with real fire and can be worth far more on its own. Your test tonight: flip the ring over and study the back of the setting, because handmade closed backs and soft old gold are the good signs, and do not scrub that old gold bright, because the soft patina is part of the age. Number 10, the mourning and memorial rings. Now the money begins to climb, and here is a category almost nobody recognizes. From Georgian and Victorian times, families had rings made to remember the dead, black enamel bands with the words in memory of, rings holding a lock of woven hair under glass, skulls and urns in gold. To a modern family, they look morbid and strange, so they are the first thing set aside. But they are genuine antiques, often more than 200 years old, and good examples sell for hundreds to well over $1,000, the rarest far more. Your test tonight: read the tiny inscription inside the band, which very often gives a name and an exact date, and treat any ring with black or white enamel, woven hair, or a memorial motif as a real piece of history, because that inscription is a dated document you can wear. Number 9. The Georgian acrostic rings. Stay with me, because this one hides in plain sight. In the Georgian and early Victorian years, jewelers made rings set with a row of different gemstones whose first letters spelled a word. A ruby, an emerald, a garnet, an amethyst, a ruby, and a diamond spell the word regard. Others spell dearest. Most people just see a row of small mixed stones and think it a muddle. But a genuine Georgian acrostic ring, handmade with foiled stones in a closed-back setting, sells for many hundreds to several $1,000s. Your test tonight: write down the first letter of each stone in order, left to right, and see whether they spell a word, because that hidden message is the entire point of the ring and the entire reason a collector will pay for it. Quick word: if you've got any old things at home, don't do anything with them yet. Not till you know what they're worth. My full price guide, every common item you might own and what it sells for, is over at my website malcolmashby.com. That's MALCOLM ashby.com, or scan the code on your screen. Now back to it. And before we climb into the top 8, Let me say this about the ring at number 1. It is not a famous jewel, and it is not covered in great stones. It is the plainest old engagement ring you can imagine, the kind that gets passed down and set aside because it looks so modest next to a modern stone. What made one just like it worth a fortune was not size and not sparkle. It was a single thing about the diamond that only a proper look reveals, and I will show you exactly what to check. Number 8. The old mine-cut diamond rings. This one looks almost like a mistake. The diamond sitting a little lopsided, the facets chunky without the sharp, icy glitter of a modern stone. People assume it is a poor cut worth little, and that assumption costs families dearly because that off look is an old mine cut, a diamond shaped entirely by hand, often by candlelight, long before machines existed. A small one sells for a few $100s, but larger, well-preserved old mine cuts have brought many thousands. Your test tonight: look for a squarish shape with soft rounded corners and a small flat spot on top, because that is not a fault, it is the fingerprint of the 1800s, and please never let anyone recut it to make it sparkle, because that destroys the very thing that makes it rare. Number 7. The old European cut diamond rings. This ring sparkles, but not the way you expect, the round diamond throwing a softer, warmer, more romantic flash than the bright, sharp glitter of a modern stone. Some people read that softness as dull and undervalue the whole ring, and that is a big mistake because it is an old European cut, the direct ancestor of today's round diamond, cut by hand in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Small ones sell for hundreds to low thousands, and larger high-quality old European cuts reach many thousands, with prices climbing as collectors catch on. Your test tonight: hold it under soft light and watch for that warm, gentle sparkle. Look for a round outline with a small flat top facet and a deeper, taller shape than a modern stone, and never recut it to modernize it, because that erases exactly what makes it special. Number 6. The Edwardian platinum filigree rings. Picture a delicate old engagement ring, lacy and fine, light as air on the finger, with tiny patterns worked all through it. Some people find it too fussy and fragile and assume it cannot be worth much, and that leaves real money behind, because that lacy work is filigree, incredibly fine metalwork done by hand, and the early engagement rings of the Edwardian years were usually made in platinum, a metal that was rare and costly even then. Simpler examples bring hundreds to low thousands, but fine early platinum filigree with a good old diamond climbs well into the thousands. Your test tonight: look closely at the metalwork for that fine hand-done lace, then flip the ring and search inside the band for a platinum mark such as plat or the number 950, and handle it gently, because the delicacy is part of the value, not a weakness. Number 5. The natural untreated ruby rings. A warm red stone in an older setting, rich and deep. Most people see a red gem and think garnet or assume it is glass, so they never look further, and that instinct walks straight past real money, because in an old ring, a red stone may be a natural ruby, and better still, one that was never heat treated. Today, almost every ruby on the market is treated to improve its color, so an older untreated natural ruby is far rarer than people realize. A treated or lesser stone brings a modest sum, but a natural untreated ruby with strong color reaches many thousands of dollars and can be worth more carat for carat than a diamond. Your test tonight: look at the color in daylight for a vivid glowing red. Notice whether the cut looks old and hand-shaped. Then have it tested by a proper gem lab for whether it is natural and untreated, because that is the whole game. Number 4. The natural untreated sapphire rings. The same story as the ruby and the same trap. A deep blue stone in an old ring is very often dismissed as colored glass or a modern treated stone, and the ring is priced as nothing. But a natural sapphire that has never been heated is a serious gem, and the very finest old stones, the soft velvety blues from Kashmir and Burma, are among the most valuable colored stones on earth. An ordinary sapphire ring is modest, but a fine natural untreated sapphire reaches many thousands, and a top old cashmere stone far more than that. Your test tonight: take any old blue stone seriously, look for a soft glowing colour rather than a flat inky one, and have it sent to a gem lab for an origin and treatment report, because with sapphires, the words natural, untreated and cashmere can each multiply the price many times over. Number 3. The Art Deco rings. The bold geometric rings of the 1920s and 1930s, all crisp lines, caliber cut coloured stones and diamonds set in platinum, the style everyone now wants. Because they look so precise and modern, families often assume they are cheap modern copies and price them low, and that is the mistake. A genuine period Art Deco ring, handmade in platinum with old cut diamonds and well-cut coloured stones, sells for thousands and climbs into the tens of thousands for the finest examples, especially the signed ones. Your test tonight: look for platinum, for hand-cut diamonds with that soft old sparkle, and for the sharp geometric layout of the true deco years, and check the inside of the band for any maker's name, because with deco, the combination of platinum, old stones and a great name is where the real money lives. Number 2, the signed designer rings, and the biggest number in this video I have placed here on purpose, because number 2 is the one thing on tonight's list you are least likely to own. A tiny stamp hidden inside the band that reads a famous name, Cartier, Van Cleef & Arpels, or Tiffany & Company, can multiply a ring's value many times over. The large majority of old rings carry no such name, and that is perfectly normal, but every so often a signed piece hides in a family box for decades because nobody thought to look. Elizabeth Taylor's own diamond ring, a 33-carat stone, sold at auction for over $8.8 million, carried up there by its quality and its name and its story. Your test tonight: take a magnifier and read the inside of every band for a tiny maker's name, and if you find one, do not celebrate and do not sell, because a genuine signature must be authenticated by an expert first, since a real one is a fortune and a fake one is a warning. Number 1, the plain old engagement ring, and the ring you are most likely to be holding in your own house tonight. Picture the most modest thing imaginable, a small diamond gone a little cloudy with age in a worn band, the kind of ring that gets passed down and forgotten because it looks so plain next to today's big bright stones. Most people assume an old small diamond cannot be worth much, and that assumption is exactly why this one sits at the top. Almost every diamond in an old engagement ring is a natural diamond formed in the earth, not grown in a lab, and very likely cut by hand as an old mine or old European cut. In 2017, a woman who had bought a large, dull-looking ring at a West London car boot sale for about $10 and worn it gardening and shopping for 30 years, believing it was costume glass, discovered it was a 26-carat old cut diamond, and it sold at Sotheby's for £656,750, which is around $850,000. Your test tonight is the reframe this whole video has been walking you toward. Stop asking whether a ring looks expensive, because looking expensive is the least reliable signal in the entire trade, and start asking 3 questions instead. Who made it, and is the stone natural and hand-cut? Is it complete and untouched? And how many others can possibly have survived? Look at the sparkle under soft light for that warm old glow. Check the band for a platinum or high carat mark, and whatever you do, do not recut the diamond or trade the ring for scrap before someone tells you what is really on your finger. Every single ring tonight came down to the same habit. Pick it up, turn it over, read the inside of the band, look at the stone under a soft light, and judge nothing by how showy it is. Everything valuable in this video looked plain and ordinary next to the flashy rings around it, which is precisely why it survived and precisely why it is in danger the day the jewelry box gets emptied. So before you take the box to the We Buy Gold counter, before your most efficient relative decides the old rings are just clutter, sit down with them yourself, a magnifier and a good light to hand and a cup of tea beside you, and look at every one. And whatever you do, don't sell it yet. not until you know what you have. If this video has you reaching for that jewelry box right now, press like before you open it. It truly does tell me to keep making these, and subscribe if you have not, because next time we are opening the same box again and going through the old brooches and pins that families throw in with the costume jewelry, including one little painted portrait that sold for the price of a house. Then tell me down in the comments, have you ever inherited a ring you never had looked at, and what is the oldest ring in your box? I read every single one, and somebody watching this tonight is wearing a natural old cut diamond and does not know it. Go and have a proper look in that jewelry box. You never know. See you next time. Now, if anything today looked familiar, have a proper look before you sell a single thing. Everything's in my price guide over at malcolmashby.com, or scan the code on your screen. I'll leave it up for you.